Alrighty, welcome back to the Natty News Daily podcast. We are here with a good friend of the Natty News Daily team and a lot of people in the natural bodybuilding world. Very good dude on the mic right now. Mike Ventura, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
So,
Yeah. Mike the
appreciate you.
marathon man, right?
Yeah,
The prep never
marathon
ended
man.
this year.
It was an experience, that's for sure. Yep,
Yeah,
definitely.
we got to
I,
cross paths quite a few times actually this year too. So, which was really cool.
Yeah, very cool. I think I met James first at Hercules,
Mhm.
and then both you guys at Natural Mania, and we were fortunate enough to have dinner together after the show, which was very cool. Met a lot of cool people, and a lot of your crew, James, and I still
Yeah.
keep in touch with the ladies.
Good.
Um, And yeah, then Dan again at
At Worlds.
Worlds, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we get
Yeah.
to hang out in the crowd and
Yeah.
watch the pro show. We spent a good bit of time just
Absolutely. That was very cool. I love the fact that you asked my 13-year-old son his opinion on things and stuff. He was getting into it. He was
he
cheering.
was,
I was pretty surprised.
and
I
he was
think he
he
might
was
be taking to like
pretty
it.
on point with what what he
I know, right?
I think the one time I think I asked him, "Hey, what do you think?" He said, "I have this person, this person, this person," and I was like, "I agree."
Yeah, yeah. Pretty spot on. Yeah.
Well,
That
he
was
Yeah, that
spent
cool.
was
enough
cool.
time around the sport this year, that's for sure, because he was with you at just about every show, right?
Yeah, yeah. The one I think at Natural was it Natural Mania? One of
Natural
the
Mania, he
shows.
wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be my coach, and then he broke his arm playing soccer,
Yeah.
and
How
yeah,
dare.
that was something. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's been very cool, and it's I'm fortunate at his now that he's 13, I'm able to. I wouldn't have been able to do this if he was young. If he was like 6 or 7, and I had to be more
Mhm.
hands-on as a parent. There's no way I would have been able to pull this off. But at his age, such a great kid, totally he totally gets it, and there would be times, certain weeks, I'd be depleted and it's, leg day, and I just, I'm like, okay, low carbs and a leg day. And he totally gets it. And so he's great. My biggest fan, my, biggest supporter.
I totally look forward to that with my own kids, like that's one of the things you kind of like think about just in general. Like, can I set a good example for them? One, but then like to
Yeah.
have them looking up to you. And I don't know if if he lifts or has plans of competing, like that thought's always in the back of my brain. Like, will my kids compete too? And can I
Yeah.
stay in the sport long enough to compete with them one day? Like that,
Yeah.
would be the ultimate test. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. And if people were listening to your shows, oh, here we go. Dan's pulling up the photos.
That's
Hercules in June,
That's
and you had
big. That's for
competed
me here.
prior to that all the way into Worlds, right? So you pretty much competed the entirety of 2024, correct?
Yeah, the only January and then this month of December were the only 2 months that I kind of didn't have anything going on. I started my prep in February.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I'm not sure where you want to start, but if you want me to kind of run through things, uh, if you give me a minute, I can kind of build a foundation leading into this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Let
so
let's let the listeners know a little bit more about you.
okay, so my last season before this was it was a one show season. 2020 COVID year did Mr. America. Um, that wasn't the original plan. I was supposed to do two WNBF shows and kind of try to earn that pro card like I did this year, way back in 2020. Um, but because of the restrictions, these two shows, Nancy's shows, were one state over in Massachusetts. So at that time, you had to get a test, prove that you didn't have anything going on to travel into another state. So I took the test. I was feeling fine, and I got popped for COVID. So um, couldn't compete. And then at that point, so this is the first year of things. And, I'm a team player. I know how I had views on it, but I know my family, the way they thought about it. So I followed the rules. At that time, it was like 10 days. You had to stay put.
Hmm.
So, it probably wasn't in 2020 as long a prep as this year, but it was still, a good amount. So if you can imagine, I'm on prep for all these months. I compete, and then, it's ripped away from me, and I'm isolated in the house for 10 days.
Hmm.
How do you
Not a
think
good
that reverse
mindset.
diet
Yeah.
went? No. So I had a buddy drop off, food on the front doorstep, and things got a little squirrely, a little out of control, and kind of spiraled after that. I was kind of depressed. I had goals for the season, and then I'm isolated. I'm eating up a storm, and then with me, once that happens, and I lose, the image, the image of my body, and I just, I kind of went into a depression, and that it seemed to go on for quite a while, for
Hmm.
probably like 2 years. Maybe not severe, but like a low level. So I was training, but maybe like 3 or 4 times a week. Intensity was very mid. Um, I had gained a bunch of weight in typical, middle-aged couch potato, sedentary lifestyle for the most part, other than the 3 sessions in the gym. Um, so this will bring us to the end of 2022. This went on for 2 years, 2 long years of like just being, an average guy. Um, and I finally said, I need to lose some weight. I need to no thoughts of competing again. I just needed to lose some weight.
Hmm.
So the end of December, my goal was I was going to be one of those people. January 1st, New Year's resolution, I'm going to start. Uh, End of December, I got the flu. That turned into bronchitis, turned into pneumonia, lost a bunch of weight. I was like, guess I'm starting early. So I kind of went with that weight loss from being sick, and then kind of dieted all throughout 2023. And then, momentum started building, muscle memory came back, and then you start getting the itch. Yeah, maybe I'll compete again. So I'm not sure when in 2023 I came to that realization, but at some point I did. And I officially started prep in February of this year. And first show was I believe May 11th, the ANBF Nationals, my first foray into the ANBF, with Kent Beerley. Awesome. He runs it's like a fan. The ANBF is like a family. So very cool. He's a very cool guy. Great show. And so that was a pro show. It was the Nationals. I mean, a small organization, so the Nationals is what it is, but still. And I ended up winning my first payday, which was pretty cool. That doesn't suck, right?
Yeah.
And got to meet up with Joe Lacera again. Met a few cool dudes. Competed against Emeka, uh,
Mhm.
Mechanomics, excellent bodybuilder. So that was cool. Um, and that was a great experience. So I took the W in that one. Followed that up with my first Nancy Andrews show, my first WNBF show. Before these two shows, I was pretty much like OCB for the last 10 years. Well, my last competitions throughout the 10 years.
Mhm.
Um, did my first Nancy Andrews show, Spring Mania, and then back-to-back W's, which was
Mhm.
cool. Unfortunately, there were only 7 bodybuilders. There were supposed to be 8. I think one guy got nabbed by the poly, and
Oh.
and I was one man short of earning the pro card way back then. My season would have looked so much different, would have played out so much differently. Um, and then yeah, just continued on the rest of my season. After, believe it or not, so I won Spring Mania, but looking back at the pictures, I thought I looked like kind of flat and stringy, even though I won. So the next show, the Northeast Classic, another WNBF show. There I am grinding, trying to get the pro card, right? Um, So I kind of, the pendulum swung a little bit. I came in, I overcompensated the flat look and came in, a little bit too full, ended up in the middleweights, placed second. um, and then let's see, Hercules was next,
Hmm.
which was when I met you, James.
Yeah.
Uh, one of the looks I really liked.
Hmm.
Um, Tough show though. So Leo Silva took that show. I ended up winning the lightweights, made it to the overall. Leo took the W. Um, and I think in the worlds he ended up fourth in the past worlds, fourth or fifth, I think.
Yeah, I
So,
forget exactly where he placed, but I mean, a phenomenal athlete, right? Like
Really
you
good
couldn't,
oh
at
yeah,
can't be
really good.
ashamed to
he'll
like lose to someone like
spectacular.
that.
Yeah,
And it wasn't just him, right? Like that Hercules show had a lot of really, really good athletes. There were a couple guys, I believe one guy had been a prior pro and was trying to earn his pro card back. You had
William
Leo,
Irvin.
kind of
Yeah,
like a prodigy. You had you, who's, a veteran competitor. So
yep,
yeah, it was a really good show.
yep, yep. And I think it was at that show. Just a quick shout out. I met. Are you guys familiar with Kevin Richardson? Naturally intense, awesome
Yeah.
dude. Trainer,
Familiar
trainer
with
in
him.
New York.
Don't know him, but familiar with him.
Yeah. So like great ambassador of the sport. He was there and it was great to finally meet him. I throughout the course of this season, I have met so many like hundreds of people. Like I don't want to drop too many names because for every name that I mentioned, there's going to be two that I forget that were really cool and awesome and but so many people. That it's such a great part of the season, the competition and striving for a goal, the challenge, of course, but all the people I met along the way, each show, and a lot of them I've stayed in contact with, through Instagram and stuff. So phenomenal. Our community, the camaraderie, there's nothing like it. There really isn't, and that's why, um, I try to support all these people the best that I can. Um, and I get it back too, and it's just I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
And you're
So
and you're genuine about it, right? And it's you're right though. It's funny. Any post I go to, pretty much, if it's an athlete I'm following, I'll see you like it or you've commented, like you're there.
yeah,
You're supporting everybody, and
yeah,
the sport needs people like you. In all
yeah,
honesty, right? There's too much. I mean, we see, I think, a little bit less of it now that I think the community is starting to come together, and maybe we're
mhm,
all, at least our generation's maturing a little bit. There's less bickering and
absolutely,
like it's more
yeah,
about just supporting each other and trying to
yeah,
compete against the best of the best, which is exactly what I
yeah,
believe your goal was, right? Put yourself out there and just try as hard as you can
absolutely,
and let the chips fall where they will.
absolutely. And it is genuine, but it is also self-serving a little bit because I feed off of it. I see how others are working and how well they're doing and it pushes me and hopefully I push them as well, so it's still positive, but I do get something out of it. I do find motivation. There are some days I'll be sitting in my car before a workout and I'll see what's this guy up to. And it's that little extra, not that. I mean, if I didn't have Instagram, if I wasn't following anybody, I mean, I'm self-motivated. I'd still be like, giving it the 110 or whatever, but it's just, that little cherry on the top or whatever. There's sometimes you're at the end of a grinder set and you're like, this guy's doing this. Kind of. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt. I don't know how much it helps, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
Hmm.
And, hopefully they see what I'm doing and, pushes them along,
I love
and
to hear
that's,
you talk about how Instagram in general is a supportive place. Just there's so much shitting on social media these days, and
yeah,
especially from someone like yourself who is a little older than I am. You hear a
yeah,
lot of a lot of talk. All kids their social media, get off the phones. But like, if
yeah,
you find the right people, connect with the right people, which
yeah,
I mean, that's how we know each other. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
it can be an amazing
Absolutely.
place.
It's a tool, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can use the tool, productively or as a weapon. So, I mean, it's how you choose to, I've interacted with hundreds, thousands of people. I think I've been blocked by one person. I mean, it's going to happen.
I gotta find off air. I gotta
Everybody's
find
cup of
out who
tea.
that is. Like, who would dare block Mike Ventura?
Ah, it's well, without giving away too many details, I did end up meeting this person at Worlds and had a little talk, but that I guess he's kind of set in his ways. That didn't go very well. So, but I'll leave it
There's,
at that.
there's a
I
I've
couple.
tried to make amends. I tried to
I've
handshake it
had
out and
a
stuff.
similar type of interaction. Maybe same person, maybe not, but we can talk
Yeah,
off
yeah.
air.
Hey, you're not gonna make out of hundreds of thousands. I just hit 1,000 followers. Not that that's
Oh
anything
yeah,
like for me, that's a big deal. But I know there are guys that are like so much more than that. So out of all those people, you're gonna have a few that
yeah,
that you rub the wrong way. What are you gonna do?
inevitably. But I like I mean, the way you conduct yourself on Instagram, I think, and I think this is important for a lot of people. I think the way that you conduct your way you conduct yourself on Instagram is the same way you conduct yourself in person. Like
Mhm.
there's no real difference, right? Like
Yeah,
what you would say on Instagram, you would say to somebody's face, which is almost always positive, right? But
yeah, yeah.
you
No,
know,
absolutely.
you know, having met you in person, I'm like, this is the same guy I've been chatting with. Like, there's
Hell yeah.
so, which is awesome. So, commend you for that, and maybe a lesson to people out there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah. Do you feel
Absolutely.
that community is one of the things that helped carry you through this prep? Because I know, like, I mean, we were together at Natural Mania, right? I stepped off
Yeah,
that stage. We were sitting at dinner, and that's when I announced, like, hey, I'm done. Like, I'm tapping out. I can't do this
yeah,
anymore. I have too much stuff going on. And at that
yeah,
point, you had agreed. You said you were done too. And then I see a week
yeah.
later, you're back in the game. And we're like, oh man, like, what is he doing? Do you feel like that community that you had is kind of what carried you as far as you went?
It definitely helped for sure. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, there were a few, yeah, that stretch there, that was a rough stretch. After each show, I contemplate, like, I was totally content with ending my season after like a string of 3 shows.
Hmm.
And, but, they always say, don't make a decision while you're, angry or, emotional or whatever. So I gave myself a few days. And when things calm down, the competitor comes back out and, I have a little bit of a different mindset. But
Hmm.
speaking of which, so I did do a diet break over the summer. That was in between Hercules and Natural Mania. So I came back for Natural Mania, and I think that was my best look of the season. I think,
It was
and
a really,
not
really good look. Yeah.
yeah, not surprising after a diet break.
Hmm.
But I was training at like my peak level, and so while I brought my best look around that time, I was kind of starting to bottom out a little bit. And I knew that if I continued down that path, there's no way that I would make it. So I
Yeah.
know I needed to make changes, but I'm an old school, stubborn bastard. So although in my mind I knew what changes I had to make, I needed an outlet, to hold me accountable.
Hmm.
And that's when, the idea struck me, your client, Christine Reinhardt. I brought her into the fold.
Shout out
We
Christine,
had,
she's amazing.
yeah, we had been messaging for a while. Um, just, she she's like the I see her as the female version of myself. She is
That's
so
exactly
committed,
what I
like
was going to
yourself,
say.
like
Yeah.
all of us, She's super committed. She's super dialed in. And so anyway, we had a connection, and then I reached out to her. I was like, I have a business proposition for you. She thought I was like talking about something else, and I was like,
A
would
crypto
you be?
scheme or something.
Yeah, yeah, like so, yeah, exactly, some kind of bit like. And I was like, will you be my accountability coach? You know, and I was going to pay her, but of course, Christine, she
Hmm.
refused. Um, and so a very cool, daily interaction, but nothing. super official. We kind of just communicated in the same way that we did. I told her, there's no rush to get back to me. When you're available. And I would just, I would check in with her, tell her what's going on. She would give me her input, ideas. I basically I had the plans in my head, what I wanted to do. Like I had to eliminate, no double sessions, cardio. I limited my workouts to like 1 hour, a bunch of things, recovery, sleep, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I needed an outlet, somebody to express myself and to share things with and to hold me accountable. And she would, you know, sometimes the old Mike would come creep in a little bit with different ideas or like, oh, I'm feeling really good. Maybe I'll do this. And she
Mhm.
would, she'd talk me down. Basically, her job was to ensure that I didn't grind myself into dust and kill myself,
Mhm.
basically. So she had a
Keep
very
you out of your
important
own
job,
way.
and
Yeah.
she's great at it. And she is, Christine, like she could
Yeah.
do that for a living.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for those that don't know her, she is probably the most type A, like analytical, objective person I've ever met to the point where I'm working on getting her away from that a little bit as a
Yeah,
coach.
yeah,
But for your situation, it's perfect because she can look at the data. She's very mature,
yeah.
very reasonable with her responses, and can like, and she's a
Yeah,
clinician, right? She's a healthcare practitioner.
yeah,
So the human interaction and like interpreting of emotion and all those things, that's something we do on a daily basis. So yeah, someone like that is very
yeah.
perfect for what you were looking for. You didn't need someone saying like drop your macros
Exactly.
3 grams of fat and do
Yeah,
this, add a set of chest. You
yeah.
needed someone to talk you off the ledge a little bit, who
Exactly.
had the experience of doing that and understanding the human psyche.
Yeah. And I told her that. I was like, you're the only one up for this job. If you don't take it, there's nobody else is going to do it. I mean, you're the only one. So thankfully she said yes. And she helped save my season. I believe that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So you
So
brought her on somewhere after that Natural Mania show is
so
the timeline?
in between Natural Mania and Battle for Broadway, I think they were 2 weeks apart. So
Mhm.
she came on board at that time. I think I might have started working with Joe Lacera a little bit on because my posing is probably the weak link out of training, diet, and so forth. The posing would probably be my weakest link. So I started working with Joe a little bit.
He's a
Um,
great poser, man.
Mhm.
yeah, he is an artist and he's a very good friend, and he helped me out in that area. And then at Natural Mania as well, I kind of got a lot closer to Mike Pucci,
Mhm.
and so he's kind of the third wheel on my little team that I got going on. And he's just a pro's pro, so I could ask him anything.
Yeah,
And
shout out to Mike. I actually got to spend a good bit of time with Mike after Natural Mania. So you and I both
yeah,
spent a good bit of time because we trained together right after like that evening after the show.
yeah,
So like
right,
we got to spend a good like quality 2 hours in a mostly empty gym, which was cool. But Mike's a great dude. And you
yeah,
ended up
no, he is.
rooming with him for later shows, didn't you?
Yeah, Monster Mash. Yeah, he stayed at my house at night because he came into town early, and then yeah, we shared a room at the hotel for the mash. And then yeah, at Worlds we got connecting rooms. So yeah, he's become a good friend. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
There
Mike's
you
a
go.
great dude.
Yeah, yeah, solid
And
dude.
that in itself goes to show, right? Like, I mean, when I go to shows, even if I'm not like, if I'm competing, if I'm coaching, if I'm just going as a fan, like, it really feels like a vacation, a family reunion. Like, it's just so fun connecting with so many people that, I mean, you know it just as well as I do. You go to a local gym, there's maybe one other person that competes or like
Yeah,
has any knowledge of what we're doing. But you
no,
go to
so
these
true.
shows and like that's all it is. Everyone there lives and breathes it. And it's just so refreshing to be around that kind of environment and know that. And I think that's one of the downsides of being in the US like scene for natural bodybuilding because you see the
Mm.
UK guys and they go to a gym and like the entirety of the gym are competitors. And it's like,
Yeah,
damn,
yeah, yeah.
if I could
No,
go
so
and
true.
train with that many high level people, maybe I would be better. And then,
Yeah,
it's just I'm jealous of it. So yeah, when you go
yeah,
to these shows and you can link up and spend time together outside of social media and like really get to know the athlete, I love it.
yeah, absolutely. It is such, they say, natural bodybuilding is a niche within a niche, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
in my everyday life, like I have no bodybuilding connections whatsoever. All my connections are all spread out around the
Mhm.
globe, through Instagram. And that's what was so great about Worlds, because I got to meet, the guys from Ireland, the guys from the UK, so many cool awesome dudes, James Melville, Lauren Brown, Finbar Murphy. I'm going to be forgetting a ton of guys. Oh, at after Worlds at Boston Burger, met Brandon Kempter. You
Mm.
know, um, so many cool. Yeah. So, all right. So, a quick story. So, Pucci is coached by Alberto,
Mhm.
who also coaches Dirk and a few other guys.
Mhm.
Um, so the nights must have been Friday night, maybe the night before I competed. They all came to Mike's room and did their posing rounds, and so I was able to witness that. So that was pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
cool to see that in person. Dirk, Brian, I think Wayne was there as well. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, no, at Worlds, I probably have a list of 100 of people that that I met, and um, very cool. Very cool. That was a great experience. Even though, the placing wasn't, what I wanted, the experience, just experiencing that, watching, the athletes and meeting the people that I did,
Mhm.
that beats any placing any day, for sure.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I don't want to overlook, just because I know your details and your data a little bit more than
Yeah.
most. You said you carved up in that first or the second show too much, hit middle weights. I
Yep.
competed with you as a lightweight, and at
Yeah.
Worlds you competed as a bantamweight. Talk to me about how that's even possible. How in the world did you pull so much off to hit that bantamweight category? Because you're not a light guy. You've got a good amount of muscle on you, right?
Yeah.
Around the same height. So, bantam just sounds like that had to hurt.
So, okay. So for most shows, so I did 10 shows this season. For most shows, other than the Northeast Classic, my stage weight was generally around 162, 163.
Hmm.
So for Worlds, you're like, this is Worlds. I want to walk on stage, and I want, I don't want to just be an average Joe. I want people to be like, holy shit, that guy's shredded, right? So I wanted to do something special for Worlds. So my plan was, to come in, a little bit crispier than the 162, 163. I'm thinking 160. Um, so leading up to the show, I started getting some weights in the upper 150s. And then I do have a wrestling background, and I remember the days of cutting water and stuff. And I was like, wouldn't it be something? Like in my mind, I mean, the class ended up being like ridiculous. Even the amateurs at Worlds are insane, even the bantamweights. But in my mind, I was like, oh man, if I make bantams, I'm gonna be the hugest, I'm gonna be the biggest bantam on stage. That doesn't suck.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what I did. So I was about 159 the night before, and I back to my wrestling background. I cut about 10 pounds of water. Fortunately, the weigh-in the day before started at 8 a.m.
Mm.
So, so I cut the water all night, and I'm there at like 7:30. I'm like, weigh me in. I want to, I need to replenish. I need to eat. I need to get fluids inside of me. Um, and I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even, this was the first time I kept something from Christine, because
I was gonna
I
say
knew,
this doesn't sound
yeah.
Christine approved.
Nah, they would talk me out of it. So I was like, I gotta keep this little secret. I'm gonna surprise them. And then I sent her a picture of the scale weight, and I was like, yeah, I did a thing. So I mean, after the carb up, I was probably, low, my usual low 160s on stage.
Hmm.
Um, but the competitors, man, from Italy, from Brazil, they would, and of course, so the winner, um, I think his name was Antonio Papa. Um, I think that's what his name. I hope I'm getting that right. he looked like he maybe in his 30s, but then the next like bunch of guys definitely could have been, young enough to be my son. They were probably half my age. So, I mean, I ended up getting seventh out of 11. And, but like I said, the experience of that weekend, outshines any placing for sure.
Mhm.
But it was eye opening. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and with those bantams, I mean, sometimes the weight doesn't even matter. It's just the way they hold, like the structure of their body. Some of it's just genetics.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You could diet down just to hit the weight cap, but it doesn't matter if their muscle bellies are formed perfectly with a like 23-inch waist, you know?
All my losses in the lightweight class, I'm not talking about the overalls. All my lightweight losses were to guys with shape, with
Mhm.
tiny waists, the structure. And, for my frame, I've got wide shoulders, but I also have a wide waist. So, fast forward to this off season, like I am hammering it's all about lat width and quad sweep. That's, I gotta make the waist look smaller and give myself a little bit more shape. And I am hammering those points home like there's no tomorrow. So we'll see
Mhm.
how it shakes out. But
Yeah. So talking off season, how long of an off season are you looking at? When's the next competitive season? Have you decided yet, or is it just kind of like out in the air?
oh no, I've decided.
I figured that
So
was a bit of a leading question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I will be competing again next year, and I know there are those, the naysayers, and I read the posts all the time. I don't comment on them, but it's kind of frowned upon. But hey, everybody's got to do what they want to. If I'm enjoying myself, if I'm doing what I love, if I love the challenge, if I think I'm um, able to make progress, who's to say, there's not one right way. There's many right ways, So and it's kind of one of my pet peeves on Instagram is um the black or white thinking. Like if it works for me, that's the only way, And I see that with some coaches, not all coaches, but and I'm just not, I think everybody's different. And there are some, beginners and, people that need, guidance and to be informed and stuff. But, I think I'm at the level where I know myself best, and it's what I choose to do. Anyway, I don't think I have at my age, my window isn't, super long. So
Mhm.
anyway, long story short, I am competing next year. It's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be less focused on grinding for the WNBF Pro card, and I'm gonna hit. I call it the triple crown. I'm gonna start off with the Yorton as a pro, and I'm already qualified because I did the OCB Battle of the Gods, which was after the last Yorton, so I
Mhm.
can fly right in as a pro at Yorton, and then Mr. America, pro qualified for that as well. So it works out well. The Yorton's in September, then the Mr. America's in October, and then I'll do Worlds as either an amateur or a pro again, and I will have to do a qualifier for
You have
either
to
of
qualify.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a little bit of a shakeup with Nancy retiring, so I'm not quite sure which show that's going to be. But I'm sure there'll be a show in the fall. They'll replace the Monster Mash with another fall show, I'm thinking. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I have had thoughts of I really want to support the ANBF and what they're doing. So that's on the table. And then I noticed that the USBF has their United States championships in the beginning of September. So those are kind of on the table, but then I like, there's the devil and the angel on each shoulder. Like, I don't want to do too much again. So I like the idea of doing just the 3 or 4 shows with the one qualifier, um, and not doing those other ones. So I'm kind of on the fence with that. I'm gonna have to see how that all shakes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I imagine that'd be a lot of stress, but at least you're saying you're
it's
doing
a
like,
shorter window, right?
yeah.
It's September through November. And then I probably would, if I keep things tight, I probably wouldn't have to start, really dieting hard until, the end of July after my birthday. So that's
Good.
kind of the structure of it all.
So
Yeah.
you can get the most out of the shortened off season and then kind of dip in, dip back out before, go through a whole marathon like you did this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause this year it was something.
Yeah.
It was something.
Not too many people can say they did 10 shows, and
Yeah.
not too many people can say they did 10 shows in 1 year, right?
Yeah.
That's challenging regardless.
Yeah.
So I commend you for that and for holding through all of that and still bringing a great package every single show, right? Like too often we see athletes, at some point in the season, they just really start to fade. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that that happened with you. From the shows I saw, from the
Yeah.
photos I saw, I think you were able to really replicate, modified versions of each
Yeah. Yeah.
physique, right? You talk about leaning down a little bit more, carving up a little bit more, right? So it's all within the same ballpark, but it's not like you
Yeah.
just kind of like lost everything towards the tail end of the season.
No, not at all. I mean, the second to the last show, the Battle of the Gods, I really loved that look. That was a pro show, and it was, everybody says it's a stacked show, right? It was a very solid lineup, 14 pros, and yeah, I really liked that look. I was I sent some pictures to Christine. When I was pumping up in the back, I thought I was looking pretty insane. I sent her a couple of pictures. I was really gunning for that win. I mean, I ended up getting fourth in the class. Um, but, in that moment, I was like, I'm going for it. I think that was the hardest I posed like in my entire life. Like I overposed. Like I was, I probably to the detriment of, I was so sore after. But like
Yeah.
there was something about competing like with your peer group. Like it was a bunch of us that, pros, but we're all like older guys, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and, Kent Beerley, Frank Gigante, Jason Childs, just to name a few. So there was a little extra, like, kind of bragging rights. And you bring up the whole, support and competition thing. And so they're all, I consider them all friends and buddies. But when you're on stage, and I'm sure they felt the same way. You wanna win, you want bragging rights, you're a competitor. But at the end of the day, you know, those guys motivate me. I mean, Kent's a legend in my mind, so, um, you know, they keep me going. And I mean, Kent, what, so I'm 54, and whenever I have doubts of like, oh, what's my window? Oh, am I not able to progress anymore? Am I not, I look at him and I'm like, okay, I got some time, so he's, that, which is very cool,
Yeah.
so
And he again, just like what you're kind of hinting at, competes
yep.
very frequently at a very high level, right? Won his IFBB pro card, what, this year or last year? I
Yeah,
mean,
the
he's
Pittsburgh, yeah.
he's not just going out there to like have fun as a masters athlete. He's going out there to win,
Oh
and
yeah,
whether or not he does, like
absolutely.
that's his goal every single time. I had a great interview with him at Mr. America. And it was the first time that I had enough time to like really sit and chat with him, and it was
Okay.
fun to see just how fiery he was,
Very
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fire. Yeah. He's
Oh yeah,
got it.
yeah, yeah.
It was,
Crazy train. Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. He's because he always seems he gives off that like reserved, quiet, like mature, like he's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
grandfather. But I got him on the mic and he like unleashed and was like, it was fun. It was very fun.
Too
So
funny.
He
he's
wants to
so
win when he
competitive.
shows
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he
Absolutely.
does that a lot too. So
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He does a share of winning for sure. What do you what do you guys think about the ANBF, what they're doing and Nancy's retirement and all that stuff? A little bit of a shakeup, I guess, huh?
hmm I think it changes the landscape and the options for the East Coast for sure.
Yeah.
What the WMBF does in response with their shows, I don't know. I
Mm,
know they've moved
yeah.
some dates, which maybe takes a look at like how they're restructuring their schedule.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, maybe with the ANBF it revitalizes some of those shows. Who knows? But
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting year for sure.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah.
I know it's messing up my planning a little bit with some of my athletes. Not even just the East Coast shows, but the Washington State show moved its date. Calgary moved its date. So there's a lot of everything's
Ah,
moved, where you plan on, all right, this athlete's going to do this, this, this. Now all of a sudden you got overlapping shows or,
yeah.
yeah. So there's going to be a lot of change, but that's the
Yep.
nature of the sport.
Yeah. Absolutely. Good stuff, though. Good stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Ryan's doing some pretty cool things with the ANBF. Yeah. And Kent, of course,
Yeah.
leading the
I
way.
think I think he'll help it expand, right? Because like you said, it's a family, but it's very much like Kent's New Jersey family right now. It
Yeah.
needs to, if they want it to succeed, kind of expand out of there a little bit.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And they were into New England. Yeah, that'll be good. And they already had that main show going. So yeah, they're growing. Cool stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. The more options, the better.
I think so. So long as the
Yeah.
options are, equal platform and
Yeah.
open. That's the thing. And
Within reason. I mean, I don't like things to get too spread out and too watered down, but this particular change seems like a good one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
So,
All
yep.
right. Well, so we're getting close to the hour, Mike. I don't want to keep you too
Okay.
late. I got to get home as well. But we always
Yeah.
like to end these podcasts with like a big message. Now, I feel like we've probably touched on quite a few things that we could clip up and throw out there, and people would take, a gem away from the podcast. But if you
Yep.
had, if you had your soapbox, what
Yeah.
would you say to the other competitors, to the other athlete, to the industry as a whole?
Oof. That's a good one. Um, hmm. I mean, it's first of all, there's always debate on whether it's a sport or not. I absolutely think it is. And, of course I'm biased, but, I think it's the best sport, one of the best sports, because of the challenge, the day to day, there's so many things that go into it, and to be a pro, to be elite, you need to eat, breathe, you need to live it. It's a 24 hour a day type of thing. And so what I would say is, there's many roads, to a destination, and you just and for the experience, the seasoned guy, competitors, ladies as well, they know this, but for the newer guys, um, just you need to find what works for you. I mean, believe me, I steal things from people all the time. I'll try things. I'll see what somebody else is doing. I incorporate a ton of stuff, and so I'm not opposed to that. But I mean, you have to get rid of what doesn't work, and what does work. You need to. So you need to do what you think is best for you, what works for you, and just give it your all, and wherever the cards fall, the cards fall. But nothing better than this sport to me, and the challenge, nothing like it. I've gone away from it a few times in my life, but I've always found the path back, and hopefully this time it sticks. And yeah, just such a great sport. And you know one thing I've touched, it's such a great sport, but also I've noticed that the standard lately is, compared to like, a few years ago, 5 years ago, it's getting kind of nutty now. The
Mhm.
younger guys, and just the quality and the standard overall, very cool, but very amazing. Like, to keep up with that, so just like I said, many roads to the destination. Find out what works for you, and work the hell out of it. Hard work works. Just do that, so pretty
Uh,
simple, but hard to do as well. So, but
yeah.
anyway,
The simple solutions are not always, but normally the right solution, right?
yeah,
Overcomplicate it.
yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I appreciate this invite very much. It was great talking to you. And yeah, just thank you. I appreciate you guys and all that you do at Natty News Daily. It's unpaid, and there's a lot of work behind the scenes that a lot of things that people don't know that you guys are up to. But appreciate both of you
Yeah.
Thank you.
and getting to meet you this year. Very cool.
Yeah, definitely a highlight of my season, getting to meet yourself specifically, but other athletes like yourself with the same mindset. So yeah.
Yeah,
And for those, companies and corporations listening, we are certainly unpaid. So you guys can change that if you want to. Throw us a little bit, some new sponsors maybe. But yeah, if you guys like this episode, like, share, subscribe, follow. And actually, Mike, before we hop off, if you want to share your social media handle, so if people want to find out more about you and follow your journey, they can do so. Where can they find you?
absolutely. So on Instagram, that's my major platform. Mike.ventura.forged. That's me.
There we
Absolutely.
are. Hopefully we'll find you a couple new followers, bump the 1,000 up to maybe 1,500, 2,000, something like that. I think
Ah,
if
nice.
there's someone in the sport to follow, you're a great role model for it. If nothing else, just for the camaraderie that you put out. So, again, we thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
So, yeah, thank you, Mike.
All right, brothers. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah.